Incredible letter from a little girl exposed the COS heart one life-changing message revealed. Lily sat at her little desk, the sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating her haphazardly scrawled words. Her heart raced as she imagined the jubilant yet weighty burden of her penmanship reaching far beyond her small town. A letter. The thought sparked a sense of hope that shimmered in the air. This was no ordinary letter, but one destined to touch the heart of Mark Thompson, the CEO of a powerful corporation overshadowing her entire community. In her small, tight-knit town, the echoes of laughter during community barbecues often masked a persistent struggle. Families like hers were caught in a relentless grind of financial deprivation, constantly battling bills and empty fridges. Lily's mother toiled day in and day out, her spirit dimming under the weight of worry. As Lily watched her mother's tired eyes glaze over while sorting through the stack of bills, something deep within her, a fierce love and hope, ignited. With determination, Lily poured her heart onto the pages. "Dear Mr. Thompson," she began, "I'm just a 9-year-old girl. My mom works really hard, but sometimes there's not enough for food or even a warm place to sleep." The raw, innocent words flowed like tears, weaving through the story of struggle that filled her household. She wrote of families caught in the cold grasp of money woes, all while emphasizing that love and worth weren't defined by dollar signs. "I wish you could see us, see how hard we try every day. I believe we all deserve to be seen and valued. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The world outside her window was bright and lively. But in that moment, Lily felt the shadow of economic despair creep closer. The letter landed on Mark's desk weeks later, misplaced among the glossy reports of profit margins and shareholders. Initially dismissive, he tossed it aside, unaware that the words of a child would tug at the softest strings of his conscience. But as the weeks turned into months, her message echoed louder, revealing truths he had long ignored, truths about hardworking families like Lily's. The turning point came when the community rallied against the greed of corporations that overlooked their struggle. Tension hung thick in the air as townsfolk confronted Mark in heated public meetings. They demanded change, asking him to recognize the humanity behind numbers. Mark felt an unfamiliar ache in his chest, recalling his own humble beginnings as the son of a veteran. The confrontation with the townspeople sparked a fire within him, forcing him to reckon with the walls he'd built around his success. Finally, destiny intertwined the paths of Lily and Mark. Lily stood trembling before him, a small figure with hope shining in her eyes. Would he embrace the truth in her letter? Would he take the leap toward compassion, for once turning his back on profit to truly see the people he had long ignored? The crowd held its breath. Hearts raced with anticipation. Would this unexpected meeting spell a turning point for their town, or simply a moment lost in the shadows of corporate indifference? Mark Thompson stood in front of Lily and the crowd, his heart pounding like a wild drum. Faces filled with hope surrounded him, lit by the soft glow of evening light. These were the faces of hard-working people, shadows of worry painted across their features. And standing right there was Lily, her small hands trembling, as if they were holding the weight of the world. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The memories of his own childhood rushed back when he would wait for the bus after school, and his mom would juggle a part-time job, always trying to make ends meet. This wasn't his normal realm of corporate meetings and stock prices. This was real life, filled with human connection. Finally, he managed to say something. The silence hung thick for a moment. "I appreciate your letter, Lily. I really do." The words sounded empty even to him. He glanced around at the expectant faces. "But I never thought about what my decisions could mean for families like yours." A murmur ran through the crowd. Mark saw the flicker of disappointment in some eyes. They needed more than empty acknowledgments. They needed action. Lily took a small step forward, her courage shining brighter than the setting sun. "Mr. Thompson, we all just want to be noticed. We matter too." Her voice, though small, carried a weight that wrapped around Marcus' heart. He could feel the stirrings of accountability crawling up his spine. Images of his lavish office, meetings buzzed with numbers, and financial reports felt less important now. "I promised to come back. I want to understand how I can help," he said, each word pulling together the spark of realization that ignited within him. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a wave of hope washing over them. But deep down, Mark sensed the uncertainty lingering. Could he really make the required changes? Was the company that had flourished built on the foundation of neglect? Days turned into weeks as plans and discussions were arranged. Mark immersed himself in the community. He attended the barbecues, listened as families shared meals, and played with kids who looked like Lily. He learned about the struggles, the triumphs, and the unyielding spirit that defined them. But every night, the shadow of doubt hung over him. Could a CEO really make a difference in a world driven by profits? He was used to measurements and outcomes, to smiling shareholders. But these connections were different. Personal, painful, and real. As Mark began to draft his first proposal for the community, he battled against fears cultivated within the walls of corporate skyscrapers. Would they believe him? Would he truly have the courage to face those who had always looked at him with disdain? At that crucial moment, a soft knock interrupted him late one evening. He opened the door to find Lily there, bright-eyed and hopeful. "Mr. Thompson, I've been thinking about what you said. I believe in you." Her words, small yet profound, sent a jolt of determination through him. He smiled, realizing that he had a chance to rewrite his and the community's story. But as they spoke, Mark's phone buzzed with breaking news about shareholders wanting more profits and less compassion. The weight of the corporate world pressed down harder than ever. How could he balance the demands of his position with the needs of a community fighting for survival? The realization struck him like lightning. Did he have the strength to shoulder both? With every tick of the clock, the stakes grew higher. Change was near, but would it be too late? What awaited Mark and Lily as they stepped into the uncertain path ahead? Mark tossed his phone onto the desk, frustration boiling inside him. The tension in the air felt suffocating. Thoughts raced through his mind, colliding like thunderclouds. How could he face the shareholders and tell them that compassion mattered more than profits? They wouldn't understand. They'd see him as weak, as someone who forgot the root of success. Lily's voice echoed in his ears. "We matter too." Those 5 words became a lifeline, a flicker of hope in the swirling storm of doubt. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the chaos within. What if he could bridge both worlds? What if he could show them that real people with real stories were worth more than numbers on a balance sheet? Days passed with relentless speed, and the day of his big meeting with the board drew near. Mark spent countless hours perfecting his presentation, poring over statistics, community stories, and testimonials. The enthusiasm from the families he met fueled him. But he couldn't shake the fear that his colleagues would dismiss everything he wanted to achieve. As he practiced his speech in front of the mirror, he remembered the faces in the crowd, hopeful, vulnerable, filled with stories of struggle. He straightened up, locking eyes with his own reflection. He was not just Mark Thompson, corporate CEO. He was Mark, a man who had a chance to bring change from a place of understanding. The morning of the meeting arrived with an insistent weight. The polished floors, the gleaming boardroom table, and the hushed tones of his colleagues overwhelmed him. He took his seat, noticing the skeptical glances exchanged like unread cue cards. With a nod from the chairman, Mark cleared his throat, his heart racing. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his voice steady yet informal. "Today, I want to share a story that hit me harder than any quarterly report ever could." He glanced at the board members, surprised by the silence that wrapped around the room like a blanket. They were listening. As he spoke about Lily, her family, and the community, Mark watched their expressions shift from skepticism to intrigue. He painted a vivid picture of the hard work and determination residing in those faces, the same faces that reminded him of his childhood. Some members began to lean in, subconsciously drawn closer to his words. I know we've always measured success by profits and stock prices, but what if we shifted our focus to impact? What if we cared about the communities we are a part of? His voice grew stronger, filled with conviction. He read the reactions around the table. A few faces softened, compassion breaking through the corporate veneer. He appealed to their humanity, telling them stories of hope, resilience, and the quiet power of connection. This was more than a business proposal. It was a call to action. But just as he was drawing a deep breath for his closing statement, a heavy voice interrupted. Mark, that's all well and good, but how does this translate into profit? Shareholders won't care about these stories if we can't show a return on investment. A murmur of agreement rippled through the board. Doubt smashed against the confidence he had built. Suddenly he felt vulnerable, exposed. The words he had rehearsed now felt fragile in the face of that harsh reality. Let us not forget, he started, searching for the right words. A company that invests in its people can cultivate loyalty and success in ways that mere numbers cannot. When they thrive, we all thrive. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Would they let an opportunity like this slip away? As the murmurs swelled with concern and faces tensed, Mark's gaze fell back to the agenda on the table. Just then, his phone vibrated silently in his pocket. With a glance, it showed a message from Lily. You can do this, Mr. Thompson. You've got the heart of a leader. Her faith struck him like a hammer, and he knew heart and numbers have a place together. The next few moments felt like a tightrope walk. Would he find a way to convey that importance? Could he lead them into a new era? Mark took a breath, poised between hope and uncertainty. The moment of truth arrived, hanging in the air between what had always been and what could be. Would he be able to stand strong when everything he believed in was challenged? As he looked around the boardroom, searching for answers in the eyes of his colleagues, a new thought hit him. What if he could bring Lily to the table, literally? What if they could all see the real lives behind the numbers? What kind of impact could that create? And just then, the door swung open, revealing a familiar face who had the power to change everything. As the door swung open, all eyes turned to the newcomer Lily's father, Tom. His presence instantly shifted the atmosphere in the room. He walked in with a simple confidence that quietly commanded attention. The room, filled with hushed whispers moments ago, now held a collective breath. Mark's heart raced as recognition washed over him. He hadn't expected to see Tom here, yet deep down, a spark of hope ignited. Mark, Tom greeted, making his way toward the front. I got your message. Lily wanted me to come. His voice was steady despite the tension that enveloped the boardroom. Thank you for coming, Mark replied, motioning him to stand beside him. Your story has the power to show us all what really matters. Tom nodded, his eyes scanning the room. I know this isn't what you all expected today, but I felt it was important to share something about my daughter. He paused, gathering his thoughts as he looked at Mark and then at the board members. Lily has always been a fighter. She battles every day not just with her health, but with the doubts and fears surrounding our community, our future. Mark could feel the board members shift in their seats, their expressions a mix of curiosity and anticipation. Tom continued, she asks me often why companies don't care about the people behind the numbers. That's what you're all discussing, right? But if you only measure profits, how do you measure hope? How do you measure the lives you impact? One board member shifted, fidgeting with a pen, while another leaned in closer. Mark felt a rush of gratitude towards Tom. This was the heartbeat of his message, the human connection that lay behind corporate decisions. Tom pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. Lily wrote me a letter yesterday. I want to read it to you. The room seemed to hold its breath as he unfolded the paper, his hands slightly trembling. Dear Daddy, he read, his voice steady, I hope they listen. I hope they know that every day I get up, I want to be more than just a number. I want to be a chance for someone else. I want to show them that even a little girl can make a big difference. As Tom spoke, Mark watched the room transform. Some faces softened, eyes glistening. The disconnect between numbers and lives melted, if only for a moment. Lily wants to believe that there's hope for more than just dollars and cents. That compassion can spark real change. Tom continued, his voice steady. What if you listened? What if you made decisions that were driven not just by the bottom line but by real stories? The board members exchanged glances, some looking to the chairman as if seeking permission to react. Mark felt a swell of emotion. It wasn't just his fight anymore. Tom's strength was a bridge to open a conversation he had worked so hard to create. Can you imagine what it would be like if the stories we share today fueled our growth tomorrow? Mark interjected, passion in his voice. What if we embraced our humanity along with our corporate responsibility? There's a whole world out there that sees us as more than just another business. They see us as part of their lives. As silence fell again, the weight of reality sank deep into the room. What if this was the pivotal moment? Tom shared Lily's story, but it catalyzed something within Mark. The vision he held was finally coalescing into something tangible. Then, just as uncertainty began to wane, a voice broke through the reverie. And what happens if it fails? It was the same board member who questioned him earlier. Are we willing to risk investments on a gamble? Mark clenched his fists, adrenaline surging. What's the cost of doing nothing? He shot back, nearly breathless. What's the cost of ignoring people? Are we really prepared to base our legacy solely on profit margins? Just then, Lily's father took a step forward, conviction in his eyes. It's not a gamble if it's rooted in hope. We owe it to our community, to our children, to build a future that reflects more than profit, it reflects a purpose. In that charged moment, Mark felt the shift. Would they embrace this breaking point together, or would they choose fear? The atmosphere crackled as he looked around, searching for signs that the walls could be broken down. Yet, just as he sensed a flicker of change, the sound of quiet impatience grew louder, drowning out the fragile resolve in the air. Mark braced himself. The power of unity was within reach, but it could all dissolve in an instant. What if it all hinged on their next words? What were they willing to sacrifice for a chance to change? And in that tense silence, Tom locked eyes with Mark, a silent understanding passing between them. Change wasn't just a dream, it was sitting right there in front of them, waiting for someone to take the leap, but would they dare to? The stillness broke when the board chairman finally cleared his throat, his expression narrowing into a thoughtful frown. We need to consider the reality of our shareholders, he announced, a hint of apprehension in his tone. This isn't just about one child's story. We have to think of the bigger picture. Mark felt his heart sink. The words hung in the air like an unwelcome fog, thick and choking. But sharing Lily's story isn't just about her. He interjected, desperate to steer the conversation back. It's about every person this company impacts. It's about creating a legacy that stands for something greater than profit. The board members looked at each other, uncertain but intrigued. A flicker of doubt crossed the chairman's face, and Mark seized the moment. Imagine if someone in your life faced challenges that weren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. What if you could help dig them out? What if you could change the statistics with your decisions? In that moment, Tom stepped closer, clearly sensing the shift in energy. Every time I look at Lily, I see a little girl who wants to make a difference. She doesn't view the world through a lens of profits and loss, but through actions and outcomes. We have a choice. We can be leaders in this and become the standard. Or we can follow the old ways and be no different from any other company that only drives for profit. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Mark could see some board members nodding, their expressions softening. It was as if Tom's words cracked open a door that had been tightly shut. A board member who had previously remained silent now raised a hand. What if we took a step beyond just words? What if we actually invested in community projects that tell stories like Lily's? Her voice was hesitant but filled with new vulnerability. Yes, Mark exclaimed, feeling a rush of encouragement. We could partner with local organizations, create initiatives that not only help those in need but also resonate with our values. We can build something that showcases our commitment to people over profit. The chairman shifted in his chair, brow furrowing, caught between the new zeal blooming in the room and the looming pressure from the company's bottom line. And how will we justify these investments to the stakeholders? He asked, skepticism creeping in. Mark leaned in, voice steady. By sharing successful stories from these initiatives, the real lives we change. Transparency and accountability can build trust, not just in our community but with our shareholders as well. They want to believe in something meaningful, too. Tom turned to the chairman, offering a slight, earnest smile. It's not about choosing between community and profit. It's about integrating them. What if we redefine the balance in a way that honors both? The tension in the room buzzed with potential. For a moment, the threat of failure seemed to hang in the balance, and Mark's breath felt hitched in his chest. He could almost feel the shift happening beneath the surface, like ground swelling before a storm. Then suddenly, the door swung open again, pulling everyone's attention. In walked a woman carrying a stack of papers, cheeks flushed, as if she had run in from across town. "I'm sorry for barging in," she said, looking apologetic but determined. "I heard there was a discussion about supporting community initiatives. I could help." Tom stepped aside, giving her room. "This is about hope and change for our community," he said, his voice resonant with conviction. "What's your name?" "Marina," she said, quickly glancing at the faces in the room. "I work with children's advocacy groups. We have ideas that could align perfectly with your company's vision." Mark's insides ignited with anticipation. Was this another sign? Serendipity joining them at a pivotal moment? The space felt electric, filled with the promise of connection. "Come over here," Mark urged, waving her closer. "We need your insights." As conversations began to swirl around the table, weaving in and out of proposals and ideas, Mark caught Tom's eye again. In that glance, a shared hope erupted. This was just the beginning. But as the energy built, uncertainty loomed still. What if the initial enthusiasm faltered under the weight of decisions they all had to make? Would they forge ahead with Lily's vision, or would doubt derail them once more? With renewed spirit in the air, the crucial decision hung just out of reach, ready to tip one way or another. What was the next step they would take together? Would it be a leap into the unknown, or a retreat back into the financial safety net? Only time would reveal the outcome. The room buzzed with excitement as Marina settled into her seat, her stack of papers sliding neatly to the table. The scattered energy was palpable. Everyone leaned in, eager to hear her thoughts. The worries of the shareholders momentarily faded into the background as hope took center stage. "Okay," she began, taking a deep breath. "We're running a pilot program that empowers children's voices in our community. Imagine incorporating their stories into your branding, showing the world how your company truly cares." Her eyes lit up with passion. "We could work together to create a series of workshops, gathering stories from kids just like Lily. How powerful would that be?" Mark exchanged glances with Tom, and he could feel his heart hammering in agreement. The idea was striking a way to show the company's heart without sacrificing the mission of profitability. It felt like the kind of initiative that could not only resonate with customers but also build real connections with the community. But, the chairman interjected cautiously, how do we capture that magic on a large scale? How do we ensure it's more than just a marketing stunt? Marina nodded, fully aware of the skepticism. That's the beauty of storytelling, it's genuine. We could share not just successes but struggles. We can post these stories online, create community events where families can come together. Plus, your company can benefit from the marketing aspect without losing the integrity of the message. A murmur of approval swept through the room. Hearing those words felt like fresh wind amidst stale air. Mark could feel the tension slightly ease. "So, we showcase our impact through real voices?" Another board member asked, clearly intrigued. "There's truth in that. But how do we measure success beyond likes and shares?" Marina smiled. "We incorporate feedback from the community. Engage them on what the initiatives really mean to them and measure how it affects their lives. You'll not only track engagement, you'll see the hearts you're touching." Mark felt a sense of wonder as he listened. They weren't just talking about profit margins anymore. They were aiming to create something that could have lasting effects. Something meaningful. Let us pilot this in one of the neighborhoods that needs it the most, Tom suggested, his voice steady. Let us build something from the ground up with the community, instead of imposing what we think they need. It'll resonate in ways we can't even predict. The boardroom bursts forth with eager discussions, ideas unraveling like threads from a spool. Mark could see faces lighting up, imaginations ignited. He leaned in closer, desperate to ride the wave of this newly forged hope. As conversations spiraled around him, Mark's heart swelled. This was transformation unfolding right before him. The board that had seemed so hardened was softening, moving toward a future where Lily's story could ripple out and touch countless lives. But amidst the excitement, doubt lingered. The questions became sharper, internal battles brewing. Could they sustain this momentum? Could they pivot from profit first to people first without losing everything they had worked for? As they discussed logistics, strategies, and who would lead the various initiatives, a small voice suddenly interrupted their fervor. What about me? The question hung awkwardly in the air as everyone turned to see a young girl in the doorway, clutching a crumpled piece of paper. Tom walked toward her, kneeling to match her view. Hi there, he said gently. What's your name? Lily, she whispered, her eyes wide. I have a story and I think it can help. The room fell silent, anticipation building thick as syrup. Mark felt his breath catch, realization dawning. A single child, armed with her narrative, capable of shifting everything yet again. What would Lily have to share that could change their path? Time seemed suspended, waiting for her next words. Would they have the courage to listen? It felt like a new beginning, a crossroads, and the possibilities felt limitless. Would this young girl's voice ignite a flame they couldn't ignore? All eyes turned to Lily, who stood clutching that crumpled paper like a shield. Mark felt the collective breath of the room. The board members, who moments ago had been tangled in spirited debate, were now frozen in a mix of intrigue and curiosity. Go on, Lily, Tom urged softly, his voice steady and encouraging. We're all listening. Lily stepped forward, her small figure casting a long shadow in the conference room's bright light. She unfolded the paper, revealing a simple yet heartfelt drawing of a sun shining down on a house, a big tree beside it, and someone sitting under it, reading a book. This is my favorite place, she stated, voice trembling slightly. It's where my mom reads stories to me. I think stories are magic. Mark's heart warmed at her sincerity. Everyone in the room seemed to lean closer, drawn in by the innocence of her expression. The noise, the doubts, the business talk, it all faded into the background. Here was a young girl sharing her world, her truth. I wrote a story, Lily continued, eyes bright, about my friends at school. They all have dreams. Some want to be doctors, some want to be artists, even a firefighter. But sometimes they don't believe they can do it. I think if we share their stories, it will help them believe, and maybe other kids too. Her voice grew stronger. Like me. As she spoke, Mark could see the faces of the board members soften. The grip of skepticism loosened, replaced by something more tender. Empathy. There was something in the air, a palpable shift, a spark ignited by a child's unwavering hope. Marina's gaze met Mark's, reflecting the mix of surprise and admiration that swelled between them. This little girl had a vision, untainted by years of corporate strategy and numbers. She was pure, raw emotion. She was everything they had set out to achieve, bottled into her tiny frame. What if Lily's voice broke through his thoughts? What if we could tell their stories and maybe have a day where everyone shares their dreams? Like a festival? The idea hung there, bright and inviting, prompting laughter and whispers of agreement around the conference table. Mark felt a rush of excitement. A festival of dreams. It would be more than a brand campaign. It could be a celebration of voices and aspirations, a testament to community, unity, and belief. Tom nodded thoughtfully. That's a brilliant idea, Lily. We could involve everyone, mothers, fathers, grandparents. Let us make it big. Not only did her words resonate, but they felt like a call to arms. a testament to change that was within reachable distance. Mark could almost see it: children running, telling their tales, connecting with one another, inspiring the adults around them to listen and support. But the excitement brought an unanswered question flooding in. Could they really pull this off? A festival, a community event, something far beyond mere marketing? His mind raced through the logistics, the financial ramifications. Would the board embrace this new direction, spurred forward by the voice of a child? Lily sensed the moment's tension. "Will you help me?" she asked, sincerity radiating from her tiny frame. "Will you help us share our dreams?" For a heartbeat, there was silence again. Mark's chest tightened, the weight of the world resting on where the future began. Would this company, known for its chase of profit, turn and follow this path instead? Could they allow the heart of childlike dreams to guide them? With every soul in the room feeling the pulse of this moment, Mark knew it was shifting for everyone involved. The power of a single story, could it truly lead to change? Tom finally broke the silence, breathing life into the atmosphere. "Lily, I think you've just started something incredible." There was no doubt now. The direction was clear. But as the excitement bubbled back into the room, a question lingered on Mark's mind. Could they sustain this new energy, this new commitment? Would they find the courage to follow through, to let Lily's story guide their way? With her eyes gleaming, Lily smiled as the adults began to talk. Animatedly around her a light sparked. But deep down, Mark felt a tremor of uncertainty. The moment of truth was approaching. Would they have the strength to see it through? The vision was igniting, but the real challenge still lay ahead. What would it take to turn this surge of excitement into lasting change? Would they truly embrace the heart of their mission? The buzz in the room was electric, but beneath the excitement lay a current of doubt. Mark glanced around at the board members, their faces a mosaic of enthusiasm and apprehension. Would they really leap into the unknown? Turning the company into a force for community and connection felt both exhilarating and terrifying. "All right, let us brainstorm ideas," Tom said, a bit too loudly, as if trying to dispel the tension. "A festival of dreams. How do we make this happen?" He turned to Lily, his eyes twinkling. "We need your help, Lily. What kinds of activities do you think we should have?" Lily's eyes sparkled. "We can have storytellers, art stations where kids can draw and paint their dreams, maybe even some food trucks." Her enthusiasm was contagious, igniting those around her. "I can see the posters now," Marina said, grappling with the visualizations in her mind. "We could host a contest where kids submit their stories, and the winners get to tell them at the festival." Her voice grew stronger, fueled by the idea. As the conversation swirled, Mark's heart beat faster. He could picture it: the vibrant colors, laughter echoing in the air, families coming together. But lingering in the back of his mind was the harsh reality of the corporate world. "Hold on," he interjected, trying to maintain clarity. "We need a solid plan. Marketing costs, permits, insurance. How do we cover all this?" "Perhaps we can partner with local businesses," Tom suggested, his voice softening. "They might see the benefit of community engagement." "But what if they don't?" Mark countered. The fear gripped him, creeping in like a shadow. "What if we fail? We've never done anything like this before." Lily stepped up, her face serious now. "But if we don't try, how will we know? You said stories are magic. If we believe in them, others will too. People will want to help us." Her words hung in the air, striking a chord deep within Mark. He could feel the glimmer of hope chasing away the shadows. Perhaps this whole venture could be what they needed, a chance to rekindle belief, not just in dreams but in their very mission. Mark caught Tom's eye, and their unspoken understanding grew stronger. This was more than a business decision. It was about giving a voice to countless children. It was about bringing families together in a way that sparked connection. "Let us do it," Tom said, clenching his hands with determination. "Let us make this festival happen." The room erupted into a chorus of agreement, enthusiasm bubbling over. Mark's heart raced. He felt a wave of relief wash over him, mixed with the resolve to take on the challenge. Yet, even amid their excitement, he thought of the obstacles ahead. Doubts still loomed large, fueled by the capitalist world they had navigated for years. What would the shareholders think? Would they understand the shift towards a community-focused mission? Lily approached Mark, her tiny hand reaching up to touch his arm. "You're not scared, are you? We've got each other, right?" Her trust sparked something profound within him. The burden of fear started to lift, replaced by a burgeoning belief that they could make this work. "You're right, Lily," he said, smiling down at her. "We're in this together." The room seemed to vibrate with possibilities. Everyone was energized, their spirits amplified by the little girl's unwavering belief. But as plans formed and dreams began to take shape, Mark couldn't shake the lingering questions. What if the backlash was too much? What if their efforts led to disappointment instead of success? The clock was ticking. They needed to strategize and build this dream festival. But deep down, Mark knew the real battle had just begun. He felt a rush of urgency. Would they be ready for the challenges ahead? What would it truly take to break free and turn their vision into a reality? The following days were a whirl of brainstorming sessions, late-night emails, and rushing to meet deadlines. Mark found himself oscillating between hope and dread. The momentum was infectious, but the reality of their proposal hung over him like a heavy mist. Could they truly turn this festival from a dream into reality? Lily, with her sweet charm and tender heart, had become a symbol of their collective vision. She was often found at Mark's side, eagerly pointing out possibilities, painting a brighter future with her words. "Imagine the children laughing, Mark. Nothing will be more magical." Her passion was an anchor amidst the corporate storm. They gathered in the conference room for their first planning meeting. Mark set up a whiteboard filled with ideas, suggestions scribbled from the enthusiastic discussions that had populated their last few days. "Okay, everyone, let us break this down," he said, trying to rally the group. "What do we need next?" "Let us start with sponsors," Tom suggested, practically bouncing in his chair. "Local businesses will want to support a festival aimed at families. They see community engagement as good publicity." "Right, but do we have a pitch?" Mark replied, furrowing his brow as worry crept back in. Marina chimed in, "What if we create a compelling narrative around the festival? It's not just about the sponsors. It's about changing lives, community engagement. We have to sell them on the heart of the project." Mark felt the flicker of hope spark again. They weren't just selling a festival. They were selling change, a chance to impact countless lives. "Okay, so we need a pitch that tells our story," Mark replied, his nerves calming just a bit. "Something that captures the essence of why we're doing this." Lily raised her hand, as if she were in class. "Can we include my story too? It might inspire people to believe in magic." "Your story?" Tom echoed, grinning. "Absolutely. That's a brilliant idea." Mark did his best to hide the surge of warmth he felt. What Lily proposed could resonate deeply with sponsors, a tangible connection to the families they aimed to touch. As they diligently worked through the proposal, a thought struck Mark, suddenly crystallizing his worries into clarity. What if we bring in more voices? Get the kids involved from the beginning? The room fell silent for a moment before bursting into collaborative energy. They could engage children in every aspect of the festival planning, organizing, creating posters. It would be a fusion of dreams, a real grassroots festival spurred by the very hearts and minds of the community they aimed to engage. Each passing minute excited Mark further. But as the thrill of action took hold, nagging doubts returned, refusing to let go of his mind. "What if we push too hard and overwhelm the team?" he said, voicing his concern. "We're asking a lot of everyone, and what about the shareholders? They might not see this as a priority." Lily, with an instinctual wisdom that belied her years, placed her small hand on his forearm again. "Just remember, Mark, you once said that stories bring us together. We're telling their stories. We're not just building a festival. We're rebuilding hope." Her simple belief struck a deep chord in Mark's heart. As they carried on, engrossed in their planning, Tom received a notification on his phone. "Hey, guys, there's an email from the corporate office." The air palpably thickened. Mark's heart raced as Tom opened the message, their collective breath held prisoner. It's an invitation to present our ideas to the shareholders next month. Tom read, his voice wavering with excitement and anxiety. They want to know more about the festival. Curiosity flickered in Mark's chest, but it quickly twisted into apprehension. Would they embrace this venture, or would it be seen as a reckless gamble? As they sat in stunned silence, a question lingered in the air. Could their passion stand up against the hard-nosed expectations of the corporate world? This was it, their moment. Would they rise to the occasion, or would fear pull them back into the shadows? The festival awaited, but the stakes were higher than ever. Amidst the swirling excitement that rippled through the room, a sense of urgency hung palpably in the air. Mark could feel his heart racing. This was it, the turning point. They had a chance to showcase something transformative, not just to the board, but to the wider community. Days flew by in a whirlwind of preparations. The team worked tirelessly, fueled by the infectious energy of Lily's belief in their shared mission. Ideas bounced around like pinballs, each suggestion sparking fresh inspiration. They crafted the festival's branding, designed vibrant posters, and prepared heartfelt narratives that spoke of struggle and hope. But as the day of the presentation loomed closer, Mark felt the weight on his shoulders grow heavier. The nagging thoughts returned, shadowing the excitement. What if the board didn't resonate with the vision? What if they rejected this leap of faith? The night before the meeting, Mark found himself lost in thought, staring out into the darkness. He needed a sign, a glimmer of assurance that they were on the right path. Just then, Lily tiptoed into the room, clutching her favorite stuffed animal. "Mr. Thompson," she whispered, "can I tell you something?" He turned, surprised at her seriousness. "Of course, Lily. What's on your mind?" "I'm not scared," she said, her tiny voice firm. "I know our festival will be magical. Even if they don't like it, we'll still make it happen." Her words ignited a spark of warmth in his chest. "And if we just keep believing, it'll work out." Mark smiled, his heart swelling with admiration for this extraordinary girl. She was right. They weren't just fighting for one meeting. They were fighting for a future. And together, woven through the threads of hope and belief, they could chart new territory. When the day finally arrived, the boardroom was a frenzy of polished suits and calculating eyes. Mark stood at the front, his presentation materials set up, but his heart raced as he glanced out at the board, aware of the skeptics sitting among them. He took a deep breath, feeling the collective anticipation in the room. As his eyes swept over the faces, he spotted Tom and Lily in the back, their friendly smiles igniting his courage. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice steady but earnest. "Thank you for being here today. What if I told you that our approach to business could be more than just numbers and profit margins?" The room shifted slightly, recognition dawning in a few eyes. He shared Lily's story, emphasizing the heart that pulsated behind every statistic. He illustrated their vision for the festival, a day dedicated to fostering dreams, unveiling stories, and creating connections that could change their community. This festival is not just about engagement. It's about showing that behind our corporation are real families facing real challenges. It's time we acknowledge their voices, unite, and lead with purpose, he proclaimed, passion threading his words. The atmosphere thickened with tension as he concluded, his heart pounding. He could see mixed expressions, some intrigued, others skeptical. The chairman frowned. "Mark, we're all invested, but you're asking us to pivot our entire strategy. Can you assure us that this will result in tangible benefits? How do we measure success?" Mark took a deep breath, remembering Lily's unwavering spirit. "If we invest in this community," he urged, "we're investing in loyalty and trust. By sharing these real, human stories, we can build an emotional resonance that speaks louder than any quarterly profit report can express." A moment hung heavy in the air, and just as doubt loomed, Lily stepped forward, the embodiment of hope. "Will you help us?" she asked, her eyes wide and sincere. "We just want to share our stories. Together we can make magic happen." The room fell silent, a surprised stillness replacing the previous skepticism. One board member exchanged glances with another, nodding slowly. Mark felt the atmosphere shift, as if the weighty barriers that stood before them were beginning to crack. Finally, a board member spoke. Perhaps it's time we redefine our core values beyond financial metrics. If we want our company to be remembered, it has to resonate with something greater. Nods of agreement began to ripple through the boardroom. I believe this festival can give us a lasting impact. Another board member chimed in. This could truly align with our mission, one that celebrates our community and fosters genuine connection. As the discussion gained momentum, Mark's heart soared. They would rise together, fueled by the spirit of a little girl who dared to dream. Weeks later, the festival came to life. Laughter filled the air, vibrant colors adorned the community park, and families gathered, united by hope and stories. Mark wandered through the lively space, watching children share their dreams and aspirations, see their art decorating walls, feel their voices resonating through the mic. He caught sight of Lily, beaming as she showcased her drawing center, transforming the timid into storytellers. "This is real magic," she exclaimed, eyes sparkling. Mark's heart swelled with gratitude. They had dared to believe, and in this moment, they were also redefining success not just by the warmth radiating from the crowd, but by the connections they were cultivating. As the sun set, painting the sky in a blaze of orange and pink, he realized they had crossed a threshold into a brighter future. This was more than just a festival. It was a declaration that magic resided in the stories of every child, every family, and every community. And in this pivotal moment, he made a silent vow to carry that spirit forward, not just as a CEO, but as a friend to the community that had rekindled hope in his heart. This was the true essence of their journey, a transformation anchored in love, unity, and unwavering belief in one another. Now, dear friends, this is the moment for you too. Don't wait not even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss these exclusive stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because it truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about the beautiful ending we just witnessed, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support this channel. It's your chance to connect with those who understand the power of hope, community, and the magic of stories. Let us keep this uplifting journey alive.